Hi, I'm Maria, and I once thought my marriage to Tom was unbreakable. We met in college, dated for a few years, and got married in our mid-20s. Life felt perfect. We had two wonderful children, Julia, 8, and Max, 6, and a beautiful home in a quiet neighborhood. I worked part-time as a graphic designer, balancing motherhood, while Tom thrived in his marketing career. But over time, cracks in our marriage began to form. Tom was spending more time at work, often mentioning a young colleague named Tammy. At first, I brushed it off, just another coworker, but as the weeks went by, he started bringing her up more frequently, and his work hours kept stretching longer. I finally met Tammy at a company event. She was a vibrant 25-year-old, full of ambition. She greeted me with a smile, but her words were sharp. "You should really step up your wife game, Maria," she said lightly. "Someone might steal Tom away if you're not careful." Her remark caught me off guard, and although I laughed it off, the unease stayed with me. 3 months later, my worst fears were confirmed. One night, Tom came home unusually quiet. After putting the kids to bed, he sat me down and confessed, "I've been having an affair with Tammy. I'm leaving you and moving in with her." He couldn't even look me in the eye. I was stunned. What about our family? What about Julia and Max? I asked, my voice shaking. "I'm sorry, Maria," he said as he stood up. "But I've made up my mind." Tammy even helped me pack. I watched in disbelief as the man I had built my life with walked out the door, Tammy by his side. She had the nerve to joke about how easy it was to steal Tom away. I was devastated, pregnant, abandoned, and left to piece together the ruins of our shattered marriage. The divorce was swift. Consumed by his affair, Tom agreed to most of my terms. I got the house, the car, and a significant alimony settlement. We arranged for 50-50 custody of Julia and Max, both wanting what was best for the children. I tried to stay strong, putting on a brave face as we adjusted to our new reality, but Tammy was relentless. She seemed to take pleasure in tormenting me, sending photos of her engagement to Tom and her pregnancy, as if to remind me of her victory. One day, she even sent a sonogram picture with a smug message, "It's a boy." I couldn't help myself. I replied, "Congratulations. Let's hope he doesn't inherit his father's cheating tendencies." The fallout was immediate. Tom called me the next day, furious. "That was uncalled for, Maria." "Uncalled for?" I snapped. "She's been rubbing this in my face for months. I'm done." "You could at least try to show some empathy," he retorted. "Empathy?" I shot back. "She destroyed our family, Tom. I owe her nothing." I hung up, seething. Months passed, and Tammy's pregnancy became another source of tension. Then, one December evening, I got a call from her. She was hysterical. "We lost the baby, Maria, and it's all your fault. You're heartless," she screamed. I took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. "I'm sorry for your loss, Tammy, but that's not my fault. I have no interest in your life outside of our shared custody arrangements." Tom expected me to show sympathy, but I had none left to give. I reminded him that, aside from our children, I had no interest in his or Tammy's life. Even my ex-in-laws suggested I show compassion for the sake of the kids, but I couldn't bring myself to care. A few days later, Tammy showed up at my house, her eyes red and swollen from crying. "I'm so sorry, Maria," she sobbed. "I think the miscarriage was karma for everything I've done. Can we be friends?" I was stunned. "Get off my property," I said coldly, as I started dialing the police. I also called my brother, Mark, who arrived quickly. Tammy was still crying when the police got there. "Maria, please, I just need someone to talk to, she pleaded. I'm not that person, I replied firmly. The police escorted her away, and I turned to Mark. Are you okay? He asked, concern written all over his face. I'm fine, I said, though I couldn't believe her nerve. Tom arrived soon after to take Tammy home. We stood on the porch, the tension between us thick. The kids should stay with me until things settle down, I said. Agreed, Tom replied, his shoulders slumped. I'm sorry about all of this, Maria. It's not your apology I need, I said, watching him drive away with a broken Tammy in the passenger seat. As they left, I felt a sense of resolution. I had survived the worst betrayal imaginable and was now determined to protect my children and reclaim my life, free from the toxic presence of Tom and Tammy. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Tammy's mental state was deteriorating, and I had to carefully consider my next steps. Full custody and a restraining order were at the forefront of my mind. I needed to ensure my children were safe and that the hard-won peace in my life wouldn't be shattered again. The next few weeks were tense. Tammy continued to spiral, sending erratic messages and even showing up at my kids' school. It became clear that legal action was necessary. I consulted a lawyer about filing for full custody and obtaining a restraining order against Tammy. You have a strong case, Maria, my lawyer said. Given her unstable behavior, the court will likely side with you. I felt a surge of relief, but I knew the battle wasn't over. Tom tried reaching out multiple times, attempting to reconnect. We need to talk, he said one evening after dropping off the kids. There's nothing to talk about, Tom, I responded firmly. We'll communicate about the kids and nothing else. We were good together once, he insisted. That's in the past, I replied, shutting the door on any hope he had of reconciliation. My only concern now is our children. The legal process was grueling. I gathered evidence of Tammy's harassment and Tom's neglect during her episodes. Court days were filled with tension, but I stayed focused on my goal, protecting Julia and Max. Finally, the judge ruled in my favor. I was granted full custody, and a restraining order was issued against Tammy. As I left the courtroom, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I had fought for my children's safety and my peace of mind, and I had won. Back at home, I hugged Julia and Max tightly. We're going to be okay, I whispered, feeling a sense of calm for the first time in months. The victory was bittersweet, but it was still a victory. I had been betrayed, but I refused to let it break me. My new journey was just beginning. Winning full custody of Julia and Max was a huge relief, but the struggle wasn't entirely over. Tammy's presence still lingered in our lives like a bad dream. Despite the restraining order, she continued trying to insert herself into our daily routines. One afternoon, I received a frantic call from Tom. Maria, I just found Tammy sitting in her car outside my office. She's refusing to leave, he said, his voice tight with anxiety. I'll call the police, I replied, already dialing. She's violating the restraining order. This needs to stop. The police arrived quickly and escorted Tammy away. She was warned that any further violations would lead to serious consequences. Despite everything, I felt a pang of pity for Tammy. She was clearly in a lot of pain, but I couldn't allow her to disrupt our lives any longer. Meanwhile, my relationship with Tom had settled into a tense but functional co-parenting arrangement. He was still grappling with the fallout from his relationship with Tammy, but we managed to keep things civil for the sake of the kids. One evening, after the kids were in bed, Tom and I sat down to talk. How are you holding up? I asked, trying to keep the conversation light. It's been tough, Tom admitted. I never expected things to get this bad with Tammy. I'm just trying to focus on the kids and work. I get it, I said. But we need to make sure she stays away from us, for everyone's sake. I know, he sighed. I'm working on it. I've been looking into getting her more intensive therapy. As the weeks passed, Tammy's presence became less frequent, and the kids began adjusting to our new routine. But it wasn't long before another issue arose. Tom showed up at my house one evening, looking more disheveled than usual. Maria, I need to talk to you about something, he said, glancing nervously at the kids playing in the living room. Let's go outside, I suggested, leading him to the porch. What's going on? I've been thinking about moving away, Tom said, his voice heavy with resignation. I think it might be the best thing for everyone. A fresh start. Are you serious? I asked, shocked. What about Julia and Max? I would still visit regularly, but I think they need stability, and I'm not sure I can provide that right now, he admitted. I took a deep breath, processing his words. If you think it's what's best, I won't stop you. But you need to be sure this is what you want. I am, Tom said, his eyes filled with regret. I've made a lot of mistakes, and I need to fix my life before I can be a good father to them. After Tom moved, things began to settle down. The kids and I established a new routine, and Tom kept his promise to visit regularly. It was hard for them to understand at first, but eventually, they adjusted. I focused on providing them with a stable, loving home. One day, while I was making dinner, Julia came into the kitchen looking thoughtful. Mom, do you think Dad will be okay? She asked. I think he will, sweetheart, I replied, kneeling down to her level. He's trying to get better, and sometimes people need a little time to figure things out. I miss him, Max added, joining us, but I like being here with you too. I know, I said, hugging them both. We're going to be okay. We're a team, remember? As time went on, Tom began to stabilize. He found a job in another city and seemed to be doing better. His visits became more consistent, and he was slowly rebuilding his relationship with Julia and Max. One evening, after Tom had visited the kids, he pulled me aside. Thank you, Maria, he said quietly. For everything. For being there for the kids, for putting up with all of this. It's what they need, I replied. And they need you too. So keep working on yourself. They deserve the best version of you. I will, Tom promised. I'm getting there. As I watched him drive away, I felt a sense of closure. The journey had been long and painful, but we were finally finding a way forward. Tammy had faded into the background, receiving the help she desperately needed. Tom was on the path to recovery, and our children were thriving in a stable environment. For the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about the future. I had faced betrayal and heartache, but I had come out stronger on the other side. My focus was now on building a happy, healthy life for my children and myself. The past was behind us, and we were ready to embrace whatever came next. Now, here's a question for you. If you were in Maria's position, would you have shown any empathy toward Tammy after she lost her baby, considering all the pain she caused? Or do you think Maria was right to keep her distance and focus solely on her children?